identify with that which is knower of the body. Within a cell of the astral body, the entire universe is comfortably accommodated. With eyes closed, you see the deep blue Ganashyama, which is the shadow of the astral body. It is only the godly intellect, and not a normal one, that can understand this. This is an outcome of deep meditation. It should become very clear to you that you are not an individual, but God. Then the body, identity, and ego are no more. What is to be achieved is already there, but one has to meditate due to the impurities in the seeker. Your consciousness is the most venerated, and ultimately there is nothing other than Paramatman. What is birth? Other than the beginning of the three qualities of Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas that one experiences. In Paramatman there is no duality. You experience it because of your separation from Him. Your consciousness is the quality of Sattva, and it is only Paramatman who comes to know His existence because of your consciousness. In Paramatman there are no concepts of good or bad actions that you normally believe in. These ideas separate Him from you. Do you have real control over any action, like sleeping, waking, urinating? Then why do you feel proud about doing anything? Our feeling of being a separate individual is due to Maya, and it is unreal. You have changed from a child to youth, and from a youth to an old person. What are you really in permanently? Is there any permanent company of anything or anyone, including you? You have heard that you are not the body, but that should become your own direct experience. That is true realization. When we talk, it is not to the bodies that are present here. You should also forget your body while talking. There is nothing wrong in taking care of the body, even if you are not it. But you must get acquainted with that which leaves at the end. You are not the body, but its knower. Act in the world with true knowledge that you are the pure light in the body. Discriminate whether you are the knower of space due to your light, or you come to know your existence because of space. Do you notice any stigma or defects in your own light, due to which you see? Can you see any hole or break in the vast space? Is not the light of your vision the light of Atman? That light occupies the entire space. Is that light male or female? Your body will die, but how will that light die? Have you seen any corpse of the light of Atman? Then why not try to befriend the deathless? This knowledge, when heard from a Satguru, is enough to liberate you. What can chanting and penance do? One who remembers these words and their meaning attains perfection. The mantra given to you reminds you that God is not outside but within you. In fact, it is you. When God becomes your form and you no longer consider yourself as the body, it could be said that you have understood the Guru correctly. In reality, you are always the self, and there is no question of becoming it. Everything is happening due to the self, including your present listening. The space is very subtle, but it is without any breaks or gaps. The deep blue seen without eyes is like that. Have you seen that Ganashyama? Have you developed conviction that you are that consciousness itself? When the deep blue or black vanishes, that is the superconscious state or samadhi. In that blue, there are infinite universes. There is nothing more fortunate than to have self-knowledge, which is a result of complete faith in the Guru. Others only have an imaginary contentment. The Ganashyama in you cannot help the sinner who believes himself to be the body, although he is your best companion till your end. If you wish to worship, worship your consciousness itself. Self-realization can free you from all pain. If one takes a special note of these words and ruminates over them, one is bound to attain Brahman spontaneously. Why waste time in the prison of concepts? What we call as incarnations are spontaneous happenings and not pre-planned events. The sin and merit are not separate and independent, but interchangeable. Sin can change into merit, and merit into sin. Suppose one feeds 1,000 Brahmins to earn religious merit. By mistake, the food gets adulterated and all die. Hence, merit has changed into sin. All appearances are time-bound and they vanish one day. Then what remains? Our faith in Iswara lasts only as long as we live. As I am beyond time, what is his use to me? Iswara knows me, or I know him, is only the hearsay. Even he is a concept and time-bound. My existence is spotless, desireless, eternal, and without ideation. But suddenly, the I am concept appeared, and with it the world. It is similar to a king living as a beggar for 100 years in a dream. Only on waking up is he a king. This existence is also a momentary dream in which some worship me and some hate me. But I am always full and unaffected. I am not worried how long this body lasts. My true state can be described only relatively. That which was without the news I am got the news, and for no reason I have been in this imaginary prison for 81 years. If people find me unfit to visit, I will get rest. Their appreciation will only reduce my rest hours. There was a time when you did not know your existence. Then suddenly and accidentally your beingness appeared, and along with it, there was this world. In order to increase their interest in life, I tell visitors to do something of their liking. What is death, other than departure of prana and fall of the body? Who was there apart from the vital breath which left? When there is no prana, there is none to imagine the present, past, or the future. Yet people perform religious rites for the benefit of the departed. In reality, there is none to benefit other than the religious businessmen. They have to do it for their sustenance. In this world, who teaches you to be good and honest? The preacher is Maya, who is the greatest cheat. Because of it, you have your beingness and the body identity. Space is the body of consciousness. First, there is witnessing of beingness, which is then followed by witnessing of the world. The beingness, or the sense of being, has appeared in the expanse of awareness or the Chitakasha. Asana means a yogic posture. The most stable asana is conviction of self. This applies to a sage. Whatever may be his talk or behavior, he is always the self. While performing your mundane duties, stay firm in your spiritual asana. The words like remembrance, liking, love, and devotion apply to your consciousness itself. The pure consciousness knows that it exists. This knowledge of our being is our own and not borrowed from others. It has come without our desiring it or doing anything for it. It is a waste of time to impart spiritual knowledge to anyone with a body identity. That increases the ego. Be firm that the consciousness which is listening is your form. The worldly activities go on because of your enthusiasm, and to maintain it, more activities are required. I see all of you as the unborn itself. The consciousness of the born and the unborn is the same. The only difference is, for the unborn, it is unlimited. Meditate on the consciousness which is in the body, but it is not the body. It is itself invisible but makes other things visible. Only if you have faith in the Guru and in his word will you worship the faith you are, or your consciousness. Without faith, you cannot accept my talk. I see you as I see myself, as I am formless. How can I be proud of the happenings around me? For Jnani there is no world, and all that is seen is false. The body is your covering and not your form. You are the luminous consciousness inside. Due to consciousness you think yourself to be someone, but the knower of this consciousness is without any desires and complete in all respects. As there is no form or color, the knower cannot be noticed. The name of one of the Vedas is Rig Veda, meaning the Veda or word of the sick. Hence this world is a hospital full of the sick. Our consciousness is painful. It is the Mahamaya or the great illusion, which tempts all in order to keep the self-knowledge away. As all these words originate from this troublesome consciousness, they cannot be free of sickness. Only when you become free of words, you can escape this sickness. If you have full faith in the Guru's words, you get the self-knowledge which is firm and changeless. From your consciousness have emerged the Four Vedas. You need God to fulfill your needs. Even the causal utterances of a jnani are as profound as the Upanishads. You may try and give your best effort. However, the results are as per destiny. As you are already full, nothing need be done except knowing that you are not a man or a woman, which is like condemning yourself. Every form is given a name for practical purposes and better communication. In the Himalayas, there are some ascetics and yogis who have been living there for hundreds of years. What are they getting, other than the love for existence and the pleasure of sleep? I am in samadhi for infinite time. I become aware of the surroundings only when needed. Everything depends on what you take yourself to be. What are you when in a state which words cannot describe? Every mantra has its importance and is formed by certain words. Some utter words like Haraganje or Jayaganje while taking bath. Does it mean that the water is of the river Ganges? Your speech itself is flowing like the Ganges. Your consciousness is purer than that. A sage is without self-consciousness, and his feet are said to purify even the water of the Ganges. A sage is neither a man nor a woman. Can there be any idea of profit or loss there? You worship the various incarnations and sages who lived in the past. Your worship remains unknown to them in the absence of their consciousness. Most people need God only to fulfill their needs. Krishna and Arjuna have now become unknown to each other. Prior to the appearance of your consciousness, you were also a sage. Keep company of that sage. In the absence of consciousness, there was non-duality. With beingness, the duality began. With pain and pleasure and the need for entertainment. If there is no separate existence, and all are one, who will know and what? Without the sense of being, there is eternal peace. All the so-called knowledge becomes no knowledge. Hence, self-knowledge is a must after all other knowledge. With consciousness comes the mind, which is never quiet. What was your state prior to conception? It was without beingness. Even millions of suns could not enter that state because of its great power. The moment they entered, they vanished. Your consciousness gives rise to time. Just dump all the knowledge you have gathered. The word stainless does not mean white. Your sense of being gives rise to time, in which everything happens. Without time, there is nothing. It is the nature of time to give rise to worries. We try to choose but have no control over what happens. The worldly activities happen spontaneously. Considering this, a rare one discriminates between the permanent and the impermanent. In your daily activities also you give due importance to what you have heard or read. The impressions on pure consciousness remain as memories, and they influence all actions. I am someone having a body is also a memory. Other than these memories, there is no other controller of actions in this world. Every human has completely forgotten his or her true nature and is speaking in ignorance. It is similar to a king becoming a beggar in dream. In the waking state we are saner, but we get involved with qualities or gunas. Be bold and firm while doing your activities. But remember, it is all short-lived. Who are the parents of the world and your relatives? It is God. But who is He? He is your consciousness. We are the consciousness which is formless. Its true knowledge frees you. Never consider yourself to be bound. Meditate on the meditator and always be aware of him. As long as you are conscious of your meditation, there is a possibility of going deeper. There are words and more words used to convey a concept, but they cannot describe me. Only the time-bound can be described by words, but not the truth, which is beyond consciousness. Can your speech, however holy, purify you, or can you purify it? Do you have any form which can be purified? Any desire for welfare indicates absence of self-knowledge. The mind can think only about the impressions received. How can there be thoughts about the unknown? Here, Paramatman is using this body to narrate his experiences. The word jiva refers to an individual soul, which is a result of false identification of the self with body, senses, and mind. Jiva's intellect is limited to the body, whereas Shiva is bodiless and aloof. In Marathi, Shiva means touch, and Shiva means consciousness, getting a touch or feeling of its existence due to the body. If you correctly understand this talk, you will realize your true nature as Parabrahman. To identify with the body is an illusion. None of your activities or spiritual practices can remove this illusion. Your consciousness is the thread of Brahman or Maya, which is weaving this world. It is wrong to consider your final disappearance as death. As you are not your body, its fall cannot be your death. Do you remember having died any time? If absence of all knowledge means death, you experience it daily during sleep. The wrong identity dies, but not its knower. Your true identity is present in my body, which is confirming that it is deathless. Even Vedas had to be silent, as no words can describe the truth. The pure and stainless does not mean white, as the latter can be impure. The navel means the center, in which originates the lotus of consciousness. The 5 elements come next. Was there any fear in the absence of consciousness? With your sense organs, can you hold your consciousness which gives rise to the whole universe? If you resonate with these talks, and you remember them, nothing of this world will attract you. You will also be free of the trouble that follows when you become a victim to attraction. To know your true self is real knowledge, and its ignorance leads to other attractions and trouble. The unborn is never born. The appearance of the sense of being is not birth. The impressions on you due to your body identity are so gross that you find it difficult to appreciate and remember this spiritual knowledge. The only remedy is to have full faith in the Guru and chant the mantra Jaya Guru. Is the dream world your own creation? It appears on its own. When you wake up from sleep, you witness the surroundings and you realize that you are awake. When you awake, you know it, and there is no need to make any announcement about it. It is superfluous. All words and even Vedas begin only after the arrival of consciousness. You know that you exist because of the consciousness. In order to be comfortable while awake, you should worship the consciousness as the feet of the Guru. In the scriptures, it mentions that Lord Brahma was born in a lotus rising from the navel. Have you understood its significance? Our sense of being, which gives rise to the universe, is equivalent to Brahma, the Creator. Our navel is the center from which the consciousness is supposed to originate. Some people try to imitate the actors after watching the movies. Similarly, you should watch the movie of your consciousness and go beyond. Your true nature is invisible and it is not the body. Hence there is no bondage for you. Who is free? It is the one who is listening now. Due to your body identity, everything appears to be true. For the bodiless, it is all an illusion. When you utter certain meaningful words and insist on their result, you observe materialization of your wish. The mental worship is better than the normal practice. As you feel restricted to your body, you have the choice of going from one place to another. For me, who am one with the entire space, there is no movement possible. Hence, I cannot die even if I wish to. In your case, too, the entire space is the body of your consciousness. Like me, your life is also not bound by duties to perform, but it is all a lila, or play and illusory. There is no question of any profit or loss for you. Body identity makes you a beggar. There is a manifestation in which an individual appears. Instead of worrying about the cause of the individual, meditate on that which is prior to the manifestation. In the absence of the manifestation, there is nothing. The manifestation is not the body, and it cannot be known by the senses. It is unlimited. The sugar cane gets transformed into sugar, and sweetness is its heart. Similarly, our sense of being, which is formless, is in the body. Our consciousness is the quality of the food essence of the body. It is accompanied with the three qualities of sattva, rajas, and tamas. The entire space is the light of sattva. A sage knows that he has no beginning and no end, that due to which everything appears, including all men and women, has no birth and death. How can the infinite die? The wordless state prior to waking is the child principle, which is the seed of the whole world. All the power is stored in that seed. Be quiet, knowing you are not your body. Then all obstacles to self will get cleared. I am not the consciousness, which is a quality of sattva, as I am its knower. I always exist even prior to the body, but without the I am knowledge. In the body there is the news, you are. But you are not restricted to the body, as you are everywhere. Is the consciousness in the body, or is the body in consciousness? Of course, the body is in consciousness. This consciousness that originates in the body occupies the entire universe. Without consciousness, there can be no knowledge of any kind. Since knowledge changes with time, it is untrue. If you call the origin as birth, whose origin was it? The origin is atomic, but it has occupied the whole universe. When the original ignorance becomes 100 years old, one calls oneself a Mahatma. But if the ignorance leaves, what remains? When you get a whiff of fragrance or a bad odor, have you to make any effort to notice it? Who is the doer? Is it not a spontaneous happening? All types of needs accompany a body identity and make you a beggar. Without consciousness, there is fullness. Although it is atomic, the consciousness can give you so much trouble. It is in every living form which is given a name. Though some activity is needed, don't do anything other than meditating on consciousness. Any other activity is bound to give you trouble. Any good work is appreciated and honored which binds you more and more. Then how would you transcend the three qualities? Every person has the taste of I am, which is time-bound. Even Krishna and Shiva had it, but they don't have it now. The same applies to all sages and saints who are no more. The memories of any entity are restricted to that body only, and they are not transferable to the next born body. Millions of births take place every moment. Vedas say all births are of Paramatman only. If so, how did the first birth take place? Wherefrom was the sattva material for the first birth collected? Then am I a cheat, or the rishis of Vedas are taking you for a ride? Without worrying about others, tell me, what are you? As you are not the body, can you be described as something? When Krishna described what he was it mere information about an individual? When he told Arjuna to kill all the Kauravas, he assured him that none of them would really die. How did Krishna impart such a spiritual knowledge to Arjuna right at the beginning of a great war? Have you ever pondered about it? It was Krishna's consciousness which imparted knowledge, and that is nothing but ignorance. Whatever is time-bound cannot be knowledge. Krishna, being a sage, was aware of this fact. Knowledge itself is a cheat, and this world is full of that. The ignorance itself has grown in size and is the cause of this entire existence. Have you heard of any sage who was a charioteer of his disciple? Only a Satguru can do it. For him, no work is below dignity. Will the popular gurus dare to imitate? Krishna even cleaned the leftovers after serving meals to the public. For space, nothing remains a secret, as every event happens in it. Then what is it that is unknown to consciousness, which is subtler than space? As the memory cells have a limited life, there is a loss of memory in old age. The cause of one's appearance in a body becomes clear. It was enough to know that it was not me. I was accused of having been born, which was then known as untrue. All of this applies to you as well. Meditate on yourself as pure Brahman. When you are in everyone, how can you censure others? Your behavior exposes your spiritual progress. I am a servant of the lovers of self, but there is no place here for the arrogant. Remember that you are the universal consciousness, which is the seat of the universe, Atman or Brahman. Never accept being the body until you develop that conviction. A rare seeker knows what he is not and remains as he is. Then, what he is more important than how he behaves. When one knows that one is not the body, one also knows that one is not the consciousness. When both what is and what is not vanish, what remains is bliss. Being full of bliss, one is not even aware of bliss. This bliss is his very nature, and not that which comes and goes. As he is the knower of mind and intellect, they are his slaves and not masters. He is not a doer, but only a witness of all spontaneous happening. A seeker should be ashamed of thinking himself to be the body. In this world, people struggle to avoid shame, and they try to create a good impression. There's nothing like shame for the bliss of self-knowledge. All qualities are of mind, intellect, and the individual consciousness. These are responsible for all activities. The blissful is only a witness to all this. The behavior is based upon the impressions, and the blissful is unconcerned. At the moment, you are totally guided by your mind, intellect, and the individual consciousness. Direct self-knowledge means to be one's own self. It can neither be learnt nor taught. All that exists is of no use there. The only requirement is total agreement of the listening consciousness with the Guru's words. After self-knowledge, the consciousness retires since all purpose has been fulfilled. A sage is without the sense of I am. Hindu scriptures mention the existence of 330 million gods. This figure indicates the total number of tricks and methods suggested to bring us back to our true being. As long as the knower of consciousness remains caught in its net, He claims to be the doer of all activities. When we come to know of our existence, we come to know about the body. Our sense of being itself is a dream. Our waking beingness gives rise to the waking dream, and in sleep to normal dream. In the absence of beingness, there was undisturbed happiness. While dreaming, it appears to be real, but not upon waking up. When you meditate on consciousness to find its cause, it disappears. Even the knowledge of Brahman is not true and eternal, as it is an experience which cannot last. The entire Brahman is happy and peaceful. The only problem is the individual whose existence is painful. This profound knowledge becomes simple when known. This is not a place where you can know about your past or future. Here you can know the cause of your existence and also its purpose. Everything and everyone is short-lived, although there is a desire for permanency. All our knowledge will vanish one day. We think that we are exactly as we appear outside. This belief must go. We are sure to die one day, which is totally false. All that is perceived is going to vanish, but we are beyond perception. Can you call the ending of day, drying of the water, or the extinguishing of a lamp as death? What we understand by the word death is not true. When we talk about ourselves, we should not mean that we are the bodies. However you may try, the memories do not last. All that is known vanishes, but not the knower. Although we have no death, all that is perceived is going to vanish. That which cannot be perceived is called God or Brahman. Your guru has provided you a God for worshipping, and that is your consciousness, which has no form. All your activities are for entertainment. Our interests change with age as also the type of entertainment. We hear about people who are greatly worried, and the same thoughts do not leave them until there is sufficient damage. The Guru's words should affect you equally, but in a better sense until you are liberated from all your concepts. Although consciousness is one and the same, there are differences, since the forms differ. There are millions of people, each one differing from the other. Every sage also has his own peculiarities. Rama and Krishna are incarnations of Lord Vishnu, but they differ in almost all respects. When all these spiritual riddles are resolved, the seeker becomes free of all pride. The days of a week have different names from Monday to Sunday, but for every day, sun and planets are the same. A snake and cow have different forms, but the consciousness is one and the same in both of them. In the same way, everyone must be treated as God, irrespective of their behavior. This is very simple, but its importance can be appreciated only with the Guru's grace. Any doubt about the Guru will trouble the disciple. Guru means your own true self, which is the ultimate realization of a seeker. All functions of the body happen because of the self, which is always free. You are the self, and you alone exist without a successor. There is none responsible for the happenings in the world. You are Brahman, you are Maya. Irrespective of your names, you are always your own true self. The devotion to the Guru should always remain untainted. If the visitors to this place remember only a few sentences said here, and try to be according to these words, their seeking will come to an end. Krishna has said He had to manifest because of the devotion of his devotees. He could not have manifested otherwise. He gave everything to those devotees. All his names were selected by the devotees. Many temples have been constructed to worship great seekers who were transformed into sages. Their presence and even remembrance increases the sanctity in the world. Due to them, many have attained liberation. No miracle is impossible if there is enough devotion. Krishna has said, he, or Paramatman, appears in the form of the self-realized. He becomes the Guru. It was Krishna who imparted self-knowledge in the best way possible. The faith of being alive is in every living being. It is the original faith appearing spontaneously with life. It is self-luminous and the uncreated one. When a disciple surrenders to the Guru totally, the Guru says, "Your beloved consciousness is really my own, which I am transferring to you from today. Just as you don't have to remember being a man or woman, this use of my consciousness should happen spontaneously." Guru means consciousness. Hence, the Guru is always present in the disciple. Don't identify with the body but with the Atman. The Guru is called Jnanaswar, meaning one who has the wealth of realization. Our true eternal nature is called Satguru. A true disciple develops faith that he is not the doer, as all is only the Guru's doing who is operating through him. If a disciple has full faith, his Atman becomes helpful when there are various serious difficulties. There is no God other than Atman. A true disciple knows that happiness is his own inner quality, which is not to be searched outside. Although you are free, you got bound by holding on to your possessions and relations. Have firm inner conviction that you are exactly as your Guru says. Then no doubts will remain. Your existence is unlimited without any restriction. You are everywhere and in every being. Everything and everyone is your own manifestation. My slightest sense of being has become the whole universe, just as waking in a dream gives rise to the vast dream world. Our waking can be equated to the universe, either this or its dream copy. In the transition from waking to sleep, all forms, including those of Hari and Hara, get dissolved. The devotion should be with faith, and the original faith should be known. That will resolve all the riddles. True devotion indicates unity with consciousness. A true disciple knows that all is the creation of his own light. He lives with that understanding, finding no need to make any announcement. Stabilization in self stops mental commentary. You incorrectly take yourself to be the body, as the entire space is the body of your consciousness, of which you are the knower. Even if you are only the consciousness with the whole space as your body, what will be your needs? Then will there be any profit or loss for you? Real penance is to remain as space, firmly. If you have that conviction, will you need a family, a house, and a village? Never remain as a human. The main instrument that you have is your consciousness. With that you do things and achieve whatever is possible. This consciousness occupies the whole universe in the form of the 5 elements. Krishna has imparted volumes of spiritual knowledge. Was it not his consciousness which enabled him to do all that? He kept it as pure as possible. for others as well. Consciousness is the main capital to do anything, but it is contaminated by sin and merit. Whether you see a ghost or God, it is seen in the light of your consciousness. Normally, this knowledge is not imparted so openly and directly. The spiritual teachers try to involve their disciples in more and more religious practices. On the other hand, I tell you that the whole space is your light. And if you develop that conviction, what will happen? After coming here, what do you consider yourself to be? If you are consciousness itself, how can your I remain? If one is truly spiritual, one has no business apart from knowing that one is pure consciousness. The same consciousness is now identifying with the body. One has to constantly remember oneself to be pure consciousness, so that the body is forgotten. Is the knower of consciousness prior to consciousness or after? He is prior, and also indescribable by any words. Existence, consciousness, bliss is the quality of the consciousness. The consciousness is apprehensible. Its knower is not. One can talk like this only when nothing remains a secret about existence, consciousness, bliss. This knowledge of Satchitananda is the result of one's direct experience. There was a time when you existed without this sense of being. In reality, knowing one's being itself is consciousness bliss. As long as you don't have knowledge of Satchitananda, you still have to catch hold of yourself. Stabilization in the self stops the mental commentary. Your fear is an indication of sins, the main one being your identification with your body. You should restrict the use of your 5 senses of touch, hearing, seeing, tasting, and smelling to the minimum. Be occupied with your consciousness as much as possible, giving attention to that which is listening to this talk is meditation. Your real worthiness will slowly manifest from within. You must know the real greatness of your consciousness. A speck of it occupies the whole universe. You are searching for something that is already within you. Do not contaminate it with your idea that you are the body. For real knowledge, it is necessary to know the worth of your consciousness. It is the same as that of Parameshwara. Without it, even Vishnu and Shiva could not have asserted their existence. Your faith in illusion instead of in facts is Maya. It leaves you as soon as you know the real worth of consciousness. In its absence, who would chant the name of Rama? By calling Atman as a man or woman, you are only inviting your death. With self-realization, do not pose as a guru and start preaching. Until there is a direct experience, get absorbed in what you have heard here. Without realizing the greatness of your consciousness, you are using it to call yourself a sinner. When the truth is known, once and for all, is there any need of being in samadhi? You imagine yourself to be little. This provides strength to your thoughts to torture you. You are not at all little, but universal. Give up all your concepts and stabilize prior to them. The truth suddenly became aware of its existence, which gave rise to the whole universe. When your consciousness merges into the truth, your mere presence attracts people. Maya is that which merely appears, but does not last. Atman is the substratum of all happening. Whatever appears is bound to disappear, which is commonly termed as death. The 5 elements are very powerful, but they are controlled by the qualities of Rajas and Tamas, and in turn receive energy from Sattva. What we call as birth is the birth of the world in a person's consciousness. One who has the feeling of being awake is the origin of the world. I am the knower, knowing all through my beingness. That is the power of my beingness. The waking is very minute in size, but the whole universe is born out of it. Our waking state is nothing but knowing that we exist. We experience the world the moment we come to know that we exist. Our identification with the body invites pain and pleasure. Without a thorough investigation, the riddle of birth cannot be solved. With beingness appears the world, uninvited. Our I amness itself gets transformed into this world. Our consciousness is Atman, Guru, or God. This is repeated here so that you never forget it. Identifying with the body, one is drowned and one holds the mind responsible. But mind is only a flow of thoughts in the presence of consciousness. Our understanding of good or bad is based on the meaning of these thoughts. In this world, all living beings struggle to survive. But I tell you to be prepared to lose even your I am. Always remember that you are that due to which there is the confidence of being and the flow of all words. As long as there is breathing, we experience the world. How can the world that is controlled by breath be true? Was there any world prior to your birth? You have to answer this from your own direct experience, without hearsay information. The news of your birth is the source of the world. As you are the unborn, birth and death are not for you. Your beingness does not create an individual, but it creates the world. Easy things are made difficult with your body identity. The timeless has been handed over to time and given a time limit. Who, other than your Satguru or you yourself, can prove that you were never born? With your conviction, you can yourself be the proof of the truth of the Guru's words. A true disciple pursues this to its end, irrespective of whether the body remains or drops. For Paramatman, both Jiva and Shiva are false. Only the pure consciousness is blessed to realize the truth of this. Then there is the dissolution of the sense of being. Can this affect the one who is prior to beingness? As long as you are not free of your concepts, desires, and expectations, you must take care and guard yourself. The consciousness, which is false, gives birth to the world and not you. What powers do you need to move a false world? If these words really impact you, your work will be done. Promise of heaven and Vaikuntha is a bribe. To know yourself is to have self-knowledge. What can be of use to have that? Your mind cannot help, as it is meant only for worldly activities. Our intellect cannot help, as it is a product of mind. we have to find help from that which knows the mind. Hence, it is only consciousness that can help. That which says, I am, must be prior to saying it. Otherwise, how can you know you exist? The self is brighter than the waking state. Being, the knower of sleep, is more latent than sleep. Have you heard of such a method of awakening elsewhere? When you are the knower of thought flow, you cannot flow with the mind. Only after the conviction of self will your fear end. The greatest thing in the whole world is in the human heart. Without knowing it, the man identifies with the body and suffers. By meditating on consciousness in the heart, many have become Mahatmas or even sages. Hence, meditation helps one to know one's worthiness. In the scripture Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna describes what he is, and Uddhava listens to it as his own story. The ever-existent does not know that it exists. What we call as birth is to know one's existence. The effect of Maya begins at birth with the appearance of consciousness. You are its foundation and not just a part. The sun sets and disappears but does not die. In the same way, you also cannot die. The matchstick is food.